Today, I'm going to be addressing humility from the mindset of the unfaithful spouse. So, in everything that I present today, it's directed towards the struggle of the unfaithful spouse when he or she does not have humility in their recovery. One of my favorite authors is Richard Rohr, and he wrote in one of his books that two of the greatest virtues in all spirituality, and I would tell you that even if you don't come from a spiritual background, two of the greatest virtues in recovery are humility and honesty. If you don't have humility and honesty in your recovery, I promise you it's going to be a very long, hard road, none more so than for the betrayed spouse. I will tell you, as an unfaithful spouse, reclaiming humility and reclaiming honesty in my life was incredibly difficult and required a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of soul searching, a lot of professional help to reclaim those two virtues in my life. But if you do not reclaim those virtues in your life, I promise you, your recovery, your marriage, your journey is really going to be significantly impeded. So today I want to talk to you about part one, which is humility. Because without humility, your recovery, your marriage, your relationship, even your spirituality, if you come from faith, are really going to suffer without humility. If you don't come from faith, I promise you, just your recovery, just your process of healing without humility will be significantly impeded. You see, without humility, and I see this all the time, it takes a formerly prideful person to see pride very easily in the lives of others. I can still be prideful and blow it, but I work really hard not to. But I will promise you, without humility in your recovery, you will feel resistance to therapists, to third parties. These therapists, these third parties will feel resistance from you. When you don't have humility, there's an instantaneous wall that goes up when you're dealing with someone like Rick at the EMS weekend, or maybe when your spouse asks you to sit down and watch these videos, or other videos by other people who are trying to help those who are in crisis because of infidelity. When you don't have humility in your life, you will resist the very people that may have been sent into your life to help you find freedom and liberty, but you won't be able to receive it because you constantly have your wall up. You are constantly managing your image, and so it prevents you from being able to receive from the very people that you need to hear from. You see, without humility, there's little to no remorse or empathy because you're constantly shifting things onto your struggles and your issues and making it about you. When there's not humility present, you can't really sit down and ingratiate your betrayed spouse and really help them heal and really show them remorse and empathy because you're constantly worried about yourself, worried about when it's time for you to speak, worried about flipping the switch, if you will, and making it about them and helping them see where they've been wrong and where they maybe made you cheat or where they maybe have made you be unfaithful, and if they were simply doing their part, you wouldn't have done what you've done, and I'm sorry, that's just not humility. When there's not humility, there's little to no momentum because you're very frequently creating more and more speed bumps and more blockages because you're focused on you rather than about them. And when you are constantly kind of in this Bermuda Triangle of, well, I did it because of this, or defending yourself, or kind of making it about you, you can't really gain momentum. So your betrayed spouse never really feels safe, and they don't feel like they can talk about their pain and their issues freely because you're very quick to pounce on them or minimize them or justify what you've done. And so when there's not humility, they don't feel safe as betrayed spouses to lay all their cards on the table or to speak freely and vulnerably because they're worried that you're going to attack them or you're going to attack what they say, and their heart doesn't feel safe, so they kind of clam up or they turtle up or they just refuse to kind of get over it or move on down the road like you so desperately want them to because they don't feel safe because there isn't humility. There will also be little to no momentum when there's not humility because it's very easy for us as the unfaithful spouse, men or women, to think that we know what we need. And so because we know what we need, we just say, look, if you'll do these things, we'll all be fine and we'll all move on down the road. But the problem is, we are not experts and we are not therapists and we haven't treated cases of infidelity for 10, 20, 30 plus years. We just think because we're in tune with what we're feeling, we know what should happen. And I just appeal to you, you don't. As long as you continue to play doctor, as long as you continue to play therapist with your own situation, I just am appealing to you to not do that. Exercise humility. Find a safe place with an expert that can help you, and I promise you, you will see momentum very fast, very quickly. But as long as you try and play armchair therapist with your own situation, there will not be much momentum at all. Another thing that you'll sacrifice when there isn't humility is community. Because I know for me, early on, there was still so much pride and shame and anger that I was missing the opportunity to build some really good relationships with some other men who were unfaithful, who were looking for community, but I was kind of still a jerk. And so there was just this kind of subconscious, if you will, wall that other men didn't want to try and cross over or break down. And when you don't have humility, you continue to keep people on the edge, and you push them out, and so you miss this opportunity to genuinely connect with other men if you're a man, or other women if you're a woman, to really rally around community and rally around the protocol that you're using to be able to heal. And so infidelity is very isolating inherently, but then when you have arrogance or pride and you resist community, it's even worse because now you don't have to be alone, but you are alone. And then when you start to kind of sober up, you realize, man, I'm alone and this sucks, but you know what? I've ruined some opportunities to have some community. And when you find humility, you can find other humble people that will stand with you, support you, and rally around you for your own well-being. Finally, without humility, you'll constantly make yourself the exception. And I have a PhD in saying, yeah, but, and early on when Rick or one of the other therapists would, kind of do some teaching or share some things, I was constantly like, yeah, but they weren't going through what we were going through. Or, yeah, but their spouse wasn't the way you were, Samantha. Or, yeah, but they didn't have the issues that we had. And so, we're different. And when you don't have humility, you constantly make yourself the exception. You constantly kind of take yourself out of the opportunity to just humble yourself and say, you know what? I'm going to make this work. I don't care about where they went to school or what they dress like or what they drive or all the kind of insidious things that arrogant people like myself can get caught up into. I'm just going to humble myself, take the help that I'm receiving, put it into practice, and stop making myself the exception. Because you know what? I don't need to be the exception. I need to humble myself and simply get the help that's being offered to me and trust the right people with the right process, with the right protocol. Because if I'll humble myself, if I will simply stop being the exception and stop pushing people away and simply get expert help, my life will radically change.